Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the On Time, On Target Morning Brief. We invest with fighter pilot precision on a daily basis. Today, we're going to talk about our favorite stock, our number one personal holding, at least for me. For many of you that invest with me, this has become your number one holding over time, and that's Apple. If you followed the CNBC last night, Apple earnings after the bell, Apple does what they do. They crushed earnings because time after time, quarter after quarter, that's what they do. They blew out their revenue number, they blew out their earnings number. And of course, what happens? You knew it, stock sells off, right? So let's get into why that happens literally every single time to Apple and other companies that are really good companies out there. But why does somebody crush earnings and then all of a sudden the stock sells off? So that's what we're going to peel back today. We're also going to talk about the bounce in the Chinese stocks out there. Obviously, if you've tuned out and looked away, I don't blame you. I get that. But we did talk about it yesterday, pretty much across the board. Several of them are bouncing today. Do I think that marks the all-time bottom and that we're out of the woods? No. But I think that's a sign of the fact that the bottom is near, right? So kind of like we talked about yesterday, it's the get out, get out, get out. You know, when you're on a roller coaster, and I was at Disneyland a couple of days ago, so apt analogy, if you will. When you're on a roller coaster, or when you're investing, the time to get out is right at the top, right? Well, you won't always get out right at the top, and actually, you'll never get out at the top, right? You wait for it to sell off a little bit, then you have a decision to make. Something sells off, 4 or 5%. You're like, okay, no big deal. Motion of the ocean, right? 5-8%. Now it's time to really take a look. But if you don't get off there and the thing craters, you're generally better off just holding it, waiting for the bottom to happen, and then the big as the money swooshes in, if you will, at the bottom or around the bottom, that's what causes that snapback. So that's what we talked about yesterday. Obviously, I'm holding BABA and KWeb, so time permitting, we'll take a look at both of those today. But primarily, we're looking at Apple, the journey that it's been on, why it's selling off now, and whether or not it's time to buy back in. Another theme in play is marijuana. Got some favorable votes in Congress yesterday as far as some bills that are now going to be out there, and some legislation that's in the works, if you will, for some legalization. So MJ popped from 750 all the way up to 18 this morning. We'll see if that holds, but I'm a big fan of that as an investing theme. I think it will follow the alcohol model. I think it will be legal nationwide, and the government should tax the crap out of it, right? Like they do the other sin stocks. So I think that's what's going to happen, but we'll follow along. Okay, as far as our topic of the day, that's what we're talking about. Question of the day will be qualified dividends. A lot of questions on what qualifies and what doesn't, so we'll kind of go over that. Obviously, qualified dividend gets the favorable tax treatment. If you're getting a dividend that does not qualify, guess what? Yeah, it's taxable income. So that's kind of good to know the difference there. As far as our longs, we have some Bitcoin's over 40K this morning. So obviously the companies that follow that, Riot, Blockchain, MARA, also MSTR, they're all gapping up. So we're going to look at those long. Boeing beat earnings and is gapping up, first profitable quarter since I believe 2019. So really good news there. I've been kind of a seller in Boeing for a while. Do I think it's time to hop back in? No, but it certainly is bouncing this morning. Excuse me. And then on our short side, Teladoc, missed earnings pretty bad, and of course with folks being able to return to the doctor's office, I think most people prefer to look at their doctor and eye to eye versus a Zoom call sort of thing. But there is still going to be room for Teladoc. I just think that the stock got out in front of itself, and now it's selling off this morning. All right, that is what we've got. If you're checking us out on replay, make sure you click subscribe and notification bell. If you want to join us in the room, which you don't see as a chat in the Q&A window for people to ask me questions. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. All right, here's our lineup card for today, Wednesday, July 28th. Make sure you have your Q&A window set up correctly and your chat window set up as well. Standard disclaimer applies. This is a financial education presentation. You have to do your own due diligence, before you act upon anything you hear in this presentation. Full disclaimer information is available at ototnow.com. All right, our mission objective is grow our money, protect our money, and live off our money. Well, this falls under pure growth of money because we're going to talk about Apple. Apple has been arguably the best blue chip stock out there. for some time. It's a luxury, it's a tech firm. It's also a luxury firm. It's got a highly addictive, high margin product. It's got a loyal following that I comment, I chuckle and say, I sheep. I used to say that before I went and switched everything to Apple. Now it's not nearly as funny, but I'm in that category of, yes, if Apple has a new product, guess what? The old mouse is going right to buy, right? Because I want to check it out. The comment that I heard, I was actually in Afghanistan in 2012 when a buddy of mine who was an obnoxious Mac person at the time when I wasn't, we both had our laptops, both lieutenant colonels at the time. I was supposed to brief his general about 2 hours down the road. So we were going to kind of go over our notes, make sure we're on the same page. And he flopped open his MacBook and I flopped open my Dell, whatever it was. And he's sitting there working away. He's like, already working. Then he's like, how are you doing over there? Because I'm already working still. And it was basically obnoxious, but his point was valid. You pop open a Mac, you're working right away. Guess what? You buy a Mac, you put in your Apple ID, and it immediately joins your ecosystem of the 7,000 other Apple devices you may not even know you have. But it all works, right? So, of course, the big thing for Apple for long term is whether or not there will be an iCar. Again, I think there will be. It'll be 2024 timeframe, so we're still kind of in the out years, if you will. But if you buy a car and put your Apple ID in it, and all of a sudden it has like a 10 to 15 year history of everything you've ever done available at your fingertips, not while you're driving, but while you're sitting there, all of a sudden everything you've ever done is now available, and your 2 terabyte of memory is also sitting there, into your car as well. I don't know. It's just kind of genius. So, where do I think the stock's at? Like just below 150 right now. It's selling off today. Even though it's bouncing off a new all-time highs, you can buy Apple here. So we'll take a look at the chart here in a little bit. All right, qualified dividends, we'll get to at the end. Our flow today, long, short, open, short, long. We're going to talk long-term investing first. Talk about where we are on the market. We had a red day yesterday. Hopefully you didn't freak out too much because those do happen like 1/3 of the time. So, don't sweat it. We're in the green this morning. So the world is not ending yet again after one red day in the market. We'll talk about some headlines. Like the funniest headline I saw this morning is Tesla is leaving the mall. I thought it was kind of the dumbest thing I'd ever seen when I did see, I'm, walking around a mall whenever it was, and I saw that there's a Tesla store, and I see there's a car parked inside. I'm like, well, that's pretty cool. Because, being the engineer nerd from way back in the day, I always think of how did they get that car in here? But that was more entertaining to me than the actual car itself. But if you don't know this, Tesla has to be licensed to sell in certain states, and some places they can't have an actual dealership. So their workaround is they don't have a dealership. Yep, get the air quotes out. They have a store in a mall where there happens to be a car, and they can show you the car there, and they can sell you a Tesla t-shirt there and a hat and key fob and all the other cool swag, but they can't sell you the car there. They can send you to the website and you have to like buy it online, sort of thing. Whatever. That's seems like a silly game that somebody's playing, but Tesla obviously was not going to not market their cars after making them. So anyhow, they ended up in all these malls. Well, I don't think they have to play that game anymore. Tesla's kind of real now. So I think the states are backing off on being dumb, if you will, and forcing them to do that. So the point is it's going to hit the malls kind of hard, right? Because here you have Tesla as a big name, buyer, and there all of a sudden they leave, and they're probably a big draw for people to go in and see the car. So especially in places that don't have the dealership. So we'll take a look at that. Long-term investments, pull up the Apple chart. We'll check out BABA and MicroStrategy if we have a chance. We'll get into short-term execution. I do like the long. We're in the green for the futures, so I do like the longs better than the short. That Teladoc short, though, we'll kind of back out that chart and look at where it's been. It might actually work just because it's run up so much, but we'll take a look. Contingencies and academic resources are standard. All right, let's move over to TD Ameritrade and take a look at the market, where we've been and where we're going. So zooming out, here it is, our 9-month look at the S&P 500. We had, a week ago, we had 5 red days in a row. Now we've had 5 green days in a row. Don't get lost in that, right? Back it out. Look at this chart. Where's this chart going? It's going up. When's it going to stop? Well, we don't know. You almost broke into a vanilla ice wrap there. But where will it stop? Well, it's going to continue up until we have the tax reform. starts to hit and take the main thing. I think the Delta variant of COVID is going to inconvenience you and I as far as some personal freedoms here and there, and maybe some mask usage, all that, blah, blah, blah. But not to poo-poo that, but I'm saying it's just not going to affect the market, i.e. we're not closing stores again based off of the Delta variant as it stands right now. That's subject to change, no crystal ball, but I would not sweat that affecting the market. What will be tax reform, and if they change the qualified dividend policy, boy, that would be a game changer, and they're looking at it. So here's our 5-day chart in the S&P 500. Little hiccup here yesterday, but we're kind of almost all the way back to where even where we were at the open yesterday, so not worried at all. Here's our day trading chart, kind of set up to take a look at some things. You see Apple down at 145. We're not going to day trade Apple, but I did want to show you that chart. Riot blockchain kind of settled in after the big move up in Bitcoin, and there's your MJ marijuana up at 18 already. All right, let's look at CNBC.com. We'll look at the futures here real quick, go around the world. So our futures are in the green. They were not earlier, so they're trending higher. That's good. Europe in the green across the board. Asia mixed with Japan down over 1%. 2-day route. Okay, don't really have a headline to go with that. Bonds 1.25, no big deal there. Oil hanging out 70 to 75, where it's been range bound for a while. Gold and silver kind of static, and in crypto the big story was Bitcoin back above 40,000. So 33% move in what, a week? Less than a week. So anyhow, it's in play again, so consider. All right, here are our headlines. Going through these real quick. There's your Boeing headline. Love Boeing. It's run up too much. I think it needs to come in. So not really sweating that. See, somebody just showed up in the room. There's some longs and shorts for you that will be set up here in a second. Elizabeth Warren's been making a lot of news. Yep, wealth tax. It's going to happen. We'll see what it looks like. Funniest meme I've seen recently, that one with Bezos, with the thought bubble of cure world hunger, go to space for 10 minutes. And he's like, space sounds fun. That's probably a little unfair, but it is kind of funny that I thought his speech after coming back from space fell pretty flat, actually, and kind of tone deaf on people that might be struggling in the world. We should say. All right. Other headlines out there. Olympics are going on. Good stuff happening. Fun to follow. Apple, they said that their hot streak is going to run into be muted, if you will, by the global chip shortage. So they won't be able to continue like they have. And there's a Teladoc being downgraded. But let's look at the Apple chart real quick. So where are we at with Apple? Way back here in February, they went up to 140. Everybody's like, it's going to 200 for sure. Well, no, Apple doesn't. It's not a straight line. Nothing ever is. But we kind of had some congestion in here for 6 months. And then really since June, marched higher, right? So we're up here. We kind of peaked out close to 150. We dropped up to 150. What does this tell you, this drop right here? That's a buying opportunity. Honestly, it is. The strong earnings puts a floor underneath the stock. So somebody saying like, well, it doesn't make sense. Well, everybody knew the earnings were going to be strong, right? So when it was announced that they're strong, it's like, okay, that's validation, meaning that puts a floor in the stock. But they also knew the chip shortage was going to be an issue, and that's why it's selling off. So that's simply some profit taking. Again, I have the luxury of being a long-term buy and hold investor for my clients. If you run a hedge fund, you cannot sit and buy and hold. You have to ride these gains, sell it, and find something else, and then come back to Apple. It makes you miserable, and I'm not sure it does any better performance-wise. But that's why you simply look at these as times to add to your position. They're still buying back stock and still paying a little bit of a dividend. All right, with that, let's go ahead and get set up for our play of the day. Give me a second, and I'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everyone, to the On Time On Target play of the day. This is TD Ameritrade Think Pipes. No, it's not. I'm going to share it out right now. Here we go. Welcome to the On Time On Target play of the day. Here's the opening bell. All right, we are open on a Wednesday. We've got 4 screens in front of you on the TD Ameritrade Think Pipes platform. We've got 2 longs and a short over here in Teladoc. All the way to the left, you have a 1-minute chart on the S&P 500. You see that bouncing around. We have Riot Blockchain, which is our first long. Again, this is based off of the move up in Bitcoin overnight of over 5%. So consider that for our long. We're looking at that first. We have Boeing that crushed earnings. Again, selling off here, so there's some profit taking. We'll turn around and look at that long. But probably my favorite is this Teladoc, who missed earnings. But I did want to back out this chart just to kind of get a little more perspective of where we've been. So it's up at 174, went down to 142, bounced back up to 155, now hit 140. So yes, this does have room to sell off. So let's zoom back in and take this looking for an entry point short. It's a $130 stock, so I'm thinking about $1.50 or maybe even $1 on the upside. So 137, 136.50. We're kind of at the entry point here. Actually now $1 below the entry point. So we're not in it, so we didn't get it. So we may have missed this. Pretty quick entry there, but we would need this to back up. We can't take it down to that 134 level. So keeping an eye on that, we would need it to come back up here and basically touch the new high before we came all the way back down. All right, Boeing is moving up to the upside. If you trade Boeing, you need at least a $2 stop here. Low of the day, 233.20, so your entry would be 235.20. So you'd have to enter here thinking that it could move up another 3% and end up 10% on the day. I don't buy it. I don't think it's got that. That would be your entry there. I'm not taking the trade just because I don't think it can get to 241 today. I think that's too far. But I kind of like what we're seeing in Teladoc here. So if we can get this to back up a little more, then we could turn around and take it short. But it doesn't look like we're getting that opportunity. Every time I say the word Teladoc, it sells off a dollar here. So that'd be better if we were in the trade instead of not in the trade. All right, Riot Blockchain did establish a low of the day. We could use 32.50, 32. If we took it at 33, that'd be 50 cents. It'd have to go up to 34.50 for us to get a 3-hour trade. Not really seeing that either. All right, let's surf around a little bit. Let's see what we have in MARA, also a crypto type proxy firm, if you will. Established the low at 28, 28.30. I like the entry point here. 20.30 times 3 would be 29. It could happen. Let's look at this real quick. Got to back it out. Went up 29.25. All right, we're in the minute 3. If we use lower at 28, if that holds, we can go 28.30 long. I would go closer 28.25 long. That's what I'm looking at here. So I'm looking at MARA. It's got to hold this 28. If it doesn't hold the 28, then we can't really take it, and it just didn't. It broke through that. So not going to do that. Let's take a look at MSTR. Already established the bottom of the day, $600+ stock, so it's hard to trade. All right, not going to take that either. That'll do it for the longs and shorts. Let me look at my other screen, see if we have anything in play this morning. FUTU is going long, FUTU. Up 11% there. Have to take that right out of the gate. Boeing is powering higher, but again, you'd have to get all the way, what did we say, 235. It has to go to 241 to have that trade. Okay, I kind of like this over here in Teladoc because this is profit taking. So if 137 holds, 137.5, we need $1.50. We use $1. We're going to take this short because this is spiking here. So 137, 138, we'd have to take it 137 short, 137 short, covering at 138.10. 137 short off of the spike up. It's going to hit, there it is. So 137, we're into this trade. We're short. So 138.10 is our top cover. And this is a down arrow here. So when it backs up all that way, remember I said we needed it to back up, and it in fact did. So this gives us a 136, got to do the 10-cent math. 135.90 is the first R. So 134.80 would be the second R. 134.80. Come on, there it is. 134.80, and then 133.70 is our exit point. So, and it was just there. So that's why this is such a beautiful entry. You generally don't get this big spike up to all the way up here because this isn't holding. This is somebody dumping in a market order to do all this selling and jacking the price up. So when you see something like that, it's not going to last. You do have to let it, find its top. You can't take it on the way up. But now that we're in it at 137, we're already up an R. We'll keep that up on the side here. So, but I like that entry. So our exit point is already at a point that has been hit already today. You have to love that scenario. It's at 10%. So if it goes down to 12% on the day, we're out. That's even a little less than 12%. And yeah, I think that will hit. All right, Futu is a name we looked at long. Let's look at Baba and some of the other stocks. Baba up 2.7. We'll look at KWeb. KWeb up 7% after saying we're holding this through. Is the bottom in? I can't guarantee you that, but I certainly like the fact that it's bouncing up 7%. Another name that bounced 25% yesterday was that education group, Tall, bouncing another 11% up today. So, the litmus test I kind of use is, it's kind of funny because it's totally artificial, but it's true, is that when my phone starts ringing about a stock, like, hey, I don't know, what are you thinking about this? What are you thinking about? That generally gives me confidence in the stock that you're near the bottom, because that's when we're at that capitulation point that you hear people talk about. And that's when finally the last person sells that's going to sell, that's when the money starts flooding into, at that point, the bottom is in. So pretty happy with the fact that we've stayed through with at least Baba and KWeb. What we're not in is DD, up 7%. And then the other name we got out of is Luckin Coffee, up 12%. So again, big bounce in all the Chinese names. All right, Teladoc, we're in this short at 137. Love the entry. We're going to leave that right now to talk about what's going on in the real world. All right, TQLB is up. KWeb on the leaderboard, 6.6%. MicroStrategy, MSTR, that's a Bitcoin proxy. You got Boeing up 5%. MJ up 4%. So a lot of my favorite, Baba, DraftKings, Pfizer beat earnings. A couple of folks are holding Pfizer out there for that nice dividend they have. Win is up. Casinos have been a house of pain. I've been selling some Win, kind of waiting for that earnings, and I may have to dump it if they don't crush earnings. And I'm starting to doubt that they will, but I said we'd give them to earnings, so we're going to give them to earnings. All right, CBD name bouncing up on the marijuana news. Okay, let's look and see what's going to the downside. These are all calls. GameStop selling off. Apple off 2.4%. So, crushes earnings, stock sells off. I know that frustrates people. Don't sweat it. Don't outthink it either. Just go, okay, they got it down. That makes sense, and move on. Not too many names. The S&P just went into the red, but a lot of our names are up to the are in the green today, so I like that. All right, let's check out our trade one last time. Okay, we're up 1.5R in the trade. I'm going to leave that and go talk about our topic of the day to close things out, and then we'll come back and check on that trade. Okay. Tax form time, which is everybody's favorite topic. I get it. But when you take an investment and you're trying to save on taxes, so if you're possibly younger and you're trying to make money, you're not really worried about taxes, right? You're worried about making money. But when you're older, you want to make some money, but you also don't want to increase your taxes because you're in a much higher tax bracket. So when you take a dividend, or when you take a stock, when you buy a stock and it pays a dividend. So take Apple, since we're talking about that. They pay a small dividend. I don't know. Let's look real quick. Like 24 cents or something. So 22 cents a quarter. So 88 cents on the year, which is over here on the left, 0.6%. That's nothing to get excited about. But then again, if you own a bunch of it, it's not that small a number. But that is a dividend, and that comes in and that gets preferential tax treatment. And that's what you're looking for. So capital gains tax is less than your income tax. If your income tax is like 39%, because of your earnings, then your capital gains is going to be about half of that. So your capital gains brackets, I don't have them up here. We'll talk about them tomorrow in depth, but real quick, below a certain amount, you don't pay anything for capital gains, right? They want to encourage folks that don't make a lot of money to save and invest. They don't want to penalize them with an increased tax. At a certain level, jumps to 15%. At another level, there's a 3.8% surcharge. So it goes up to 18.8%. There's another level where it goes up to 20%. And then, of course, that surcharge takes it to 23.8%. So why make it easy, right? Why not make it completely confusing? Because that's what the tax code does. But the point being is anywhere you are in there, you're going to be at a more favored tax status than you would be off of your income. So you need to make sure that your dividends are qualified. So when you get your 1099, here's the rates, 20, 15, and 0. And then it's not talking about the surcharge here. But when you get your 1099 Bravo, it will say you made, $1,000 in dividends, and then 800 of it is qualified. Well, that 200 that isn't qualified is basically taxed as income, right? Just like interest is. So when you look down here of, well, what are the reasons that you would not be qualified is if you're in a foreign company, like, I don't know, I don't think BABA pays a dividend, but if they did, it would not qualify, right? It's not, it's not US based. I can't remember if when I held BP, if they're British companies, so I can't remember if their dividend was qualified or not. Employee stock options, sometimes the REITs or MLPs, they pay out a little differently. So generally a portion of that is qualified, or like with Blackstone, it's actually a distribution. It's not a dividend, even though it says dividend. People talk about it like it's a dividend because it pays quarterly and it's money in their pocket. It's technically a distribution. So there's some things out here, which is all done for you by the custodian, but just realize that if you're checking your tax forms every year and a large portion of your dividends aren't qualified, you could probably do some surgery on your portfolio to find a very similar investment that does have qualified dividends. That is something as part of the tax avoidance, tax minimization thing I look at in portfolios, is really get in and say, okay, we've got, $100,000 in this stock and we're getting a nice 5% dividend, but doesn't qualify. Well, that's $5,000. Let's find something that pays 5% and it does qualify, right? And save investors money. Okay. All right. That's all I've got for qualified dividends. Let's check back on our trade, and it flipped on us. We're out. So it never did hit. So to recap the trade, since we're busted here, which makes me mad. Don't like the red X of shame. So we had it pop up here. We took it to the downside. I love this entry. It touched about 1.7 R, but that's not what we're in it for. We're in it for the full 3. It did not hit it. It flipped back out. If you're going to sit and trade all day, yeah, I love the secondary entry, but we're not going to do that. So busted trade, will do better tomorrow. All right, with that, I'm gonna let you guys go. Tomorrow we'll talk about the actual capital gains tax rates. We'll bring the brackets up, and we'll see what tomorrow's topic of the day is. Might be the marijuana investing, depending on how that theme does today. All right, I'll let you guys go. See you back tomorrow. Bye.